Welcome to the Traveler's Cyber Academy, a webinar series on cybersecurity and cyber risk management. Our topic for today, exploring the dark side of the Internet. Like an iceberg, there is more to the Internet than meets the eye. The clear web, the top of the iceberg, is the part of the World Wide Web that is visible to the general public and is easily accessed with standard web browsers. Examples of sites on the clear web include Google, Facebook, and YouTube, as well as other websites that you probably go to every day. The rest of the web is called the deep web. This is the part of the World Wide Web that is not available to the public through standard internet browsers and search engines, and it includes password-protected sites and corporate networks. The systems you use at work every day are probably part of the deep web, accessible on the Internet if you have the right passwords and access controls, but not visible to anyone who is searching on Google or Bing. Now the dark web, this is the part of the deep web that uses special technology, such as Tor, to provide greater privacy and anonymity. These tools allow users of the dark web to communicate anonymously without exchanging information such as IP addresses that can be used to locate and identify somebody on the clear web. The dark web is famous for its many black market sites, where physical and digital contraband of almost any kind can be bought and sold. Today, you will see that the dark web is a business that could ruin your business. In this session of Traveler's Cyber Academy, we will talk about the dark web, what it is, and how it works. We will take you on a tour of the dark web, guided by Vinny Troia, a certified ethical hacker and an expert on the dark web. You will learn why businesses should be concerned about the dark web and how the anonymity and privacy of the dark web enables hackers to buy and sell malicious tools and the information that they steal with those tools, including credit card numbers, account login names and passwords, and other customer-related information. Finally, we will cover some basic cybersecurity principles that will help to protect your business from the dark side of the Internet. Before getting to the dark web, let's start with the regular or clear Internet. That's the part of the Internet that we use every day to communicate, to educate, and to entertain ourselves. After we look at how the clear Internet works, we will be better able to understand the dark web and some of the tools used by hackers that can be found there. Let's start by imagining an email message sent by a customer to a customer service representative. The email message will pass through many computers along the way, including, for example, a corporate gateway and an email server. Using this simple example, let's review several important security controls that companies can use to keep attackers at bay. We'll start with firewalls. Imagine that an attacker is trying to send an email message to the customer service representative that includes an embedded piece of malware, like a computer virus. The email message will first be examined by the firewall, which will hopefully reject the message. Firewalls are used to filter network traffic, both inbound and outbound traffic, based on characteristics like the source, the destination, or the communications protocol being used, just as a few examples. In this example, the email message might have been rejected if it came from an untrusted source or IP address. Firewalls are built into most desktop and laptop computers these days, and they also exist as standalone network devices, as shown in this example. Now, if the malicious email gets through the firewall, it will be sent to the email server. The email server will examine the message and hopefully reject it or quarantine it for closer inspection. Email servers often include spam filters, which protect against unwanted or potentially harmful email messages. Unwanted or potentially harmful email messages are known as spam. Spam filters try to identify spam by examining the contents of the message as well as metadata contained in the email message header. Because cyber criminals try to hide their identities by providing false information in the email header, spam filters can sometimes identify spam from discrepancies in the header information. Spam filters and other content controls are critically important in ensuring good cybersecurity. Finally, if the email message is sent on by the email server, it is still possible that it will be rejected by antivirus software running on the customer service representative's computer. Antivirus software is designed to identify a file containing malicious software, also known as malware, based on the contents of the file or on how the file behaves. Antivirus software can be configured to scan files such as email attachments for malware, as well as removable media devices such as CDs or USB drives. Like firewalls and content filters, antivirus software is critically important for any business to have in place. Despite these defenses, email remains the weapon of choice for cybercriminals. In many cases, the email message will not itself contain a recognized virus or malware, but will cause malware to be secretly downloaded if the recipient of the email can be tricked into clicking on a link or opening an attachment. This kind of attack is known as phishing. Cybercriminals are developing more and more sophisticated phishing attacks in an ongoing effort to bypass network security controls and to trick their victims into clicking on links and opening attachments. Businesses and their employees must stay diligent in order not to become victims of phishing. Now let's look at website browsing on the Internet. Suppose the user types a name of a tennis website into an Internet browser. That will cause a request to be sent to the tennis company's web server, and the web server will respond by sending back the requested data, such as the tennis company's homepage. If we take a closer look, we know that computers on the Internet are actually identified by IP addresses. We also know that, like email traffic, web traffic usually passes through multiple computers on the Internet when a request is sent to a website, and also when the website sends data back to the user. Web traffic often uses the HTTP protocol, which does not use encryption. In other words, data is sent in the clear. As a result, if a computer hacker has access to any of the computers on the communications pathway between the user and the website, the hacker could access metadata, such as IP addresses, as well as the actual contents of the communications between the user and the website. It is obviously unsafe to send some kinds of data in the clear. For that reason, many websites now use a more secure version of HTTP, known as HTTPS, that protects website communications using encryption. When a website is using encryption, there will usually be an indicator in the user's browser. Here, for example, there are two indicators. The browser's address bar shows that the communications protocol being used is HTTPS, and there is also a lock icon displayed. When using HTTPS, the contents of the communication between the user and the website are encrypted. As a result, the hacker from the earlier scenario would not be able to see the user's request and would not be able to see the data sent back to the user by the website. The hacker would still have access, however, to metadata concerning the Internet communication, like the IP address of the user. That could be a problem if the user wanted to be anonymous, if perhaps his or her friends preferred golf over tennis. Up until now, we have been discussing the regular or clear Internet, the part of the Internet that is visible to standard browsers. The ClearNet is actually less than 1% of the entire Internet. And that brings us to the discussion today, the dark web and why businesses need to be concerned. The dark web is where information stolen from a business can be bought and sold. Credit card numbers, social security data, medical records, and even confidential corporate information. It is a marketplace to sell the private, protected, or proprietary information of owners, employees, and clients. The dark web is also a marketplace for tools such as viruses, exploit kits, and other malware. These are the tools that criminals use to hack into computers and businesses. On the dark web, these tools are readily available for purchase and use. In other words, the dark web is a business to ruin your business. Hackers are going after small to medium-sized businesses more and more. According to the most recent Symantec Internet Security Report, 65% of targeted spear phishing attacks are directed against small to mid-sized businesses. While not all data breaches are caused by hacking and malware, the cost of responding to a data breach is significantly greater when criminals are involved. Criminals are usually motivated by profit, and the dark web provides a safe, anonymous place for them to sell your company's valuable data. Employee records, medical records, financial data, and confidential business information. We now know the dark web is used by cyber criminals as it allows for anonymity, illegal activity, and the ability to purchase and sell protected information. It is also its own lucrative business. The dark web is based on a communications protocol named Tor, which stands for the Onion Router. Tor is based on technology developed by the U.S. military to provide greater security for confidential communications, and it provides the anonymity that protocols like HTTPS do not have. Tor uses a network of computers known as Tor nodes, which have been made available by thousands of people around the world. When a user browses the internet using Tor, 3 Tor nodes are randomly selected. The user's data will be encrypted once for each Tor node using different encryption keys, as represented here with different colors. The data is sent to the first Tor node. The first Tor node removes one layer of encryption and sends the data to the next Tor node. This process is repeated at each Tor node until the data finally reaches its destination. When Tor is used, a layer of encryption is peeled away at each Tor node, like peeling the layers of an onion. There is no way for a hacker to obtain the source, destination, and contents of an internet communication unless the sender's own computer has been compromised. Websites that use Tor to remain anonymous are sometimes known as onion sites. They provide hidden services that are not visible to users on the regular internet. Today, we will hear firsthand from Vinny Troia, one of the country's foremost cyber experts, about the dark web and a certified ethical hacker. Vinny is a computer security expert and the owner of Night Lion Security, which he founded during his work with the U.S. Department of Defense. Night Lion Security has started to assist small, medium, and enterprise businesses in detecting and managing cybersecurity threats. Vinny has been featured on a number of TV and radio programs, including Fox News and Fox Business, where he has shared his expertise on various security-related topics.
I've been kind of hacking around systems since, as far as I can remember, since I was 10 or 11 years old. An ethical hacker typically goes about doing things the same way as, a black hat or an unethical hacker. The difference is really they use their powers for good. More often than not, businesses will have strings of vulnerabilities within their networks or their infrastructure or their web applications, and they generally don't know that these vulnerabilities exist. So we will point them out for them. We'll try to break into the applications or break into their network from the outside, and once we are successful, we will show them how we did it, and then we can work with them to fix those holes before the hackers get into them. The dark web is really a community of websites that exist on different mediums of the internet, really. It's almost like a second level of the internet that are anonymous by nature and can't be accessed via a normal web browser. The dark web operates on something called the Onion Router, which is otherwise known as Tor. Tor works as a traditional web browser and provides access to a marketplace and wealth of stolen information and cyber criminals' goods and services. You can go on and purchase anything from stolen credit card numbers, stolen identity information, hacking as a service, or even malware as a service, how-to guides on how to hack businesses, on how to set up hacks, and really pretty much anything you can think of. Tor can be accessed to use sites on the clear web as well as the dark web. The way Tor operates, once we go to a normal website like the Traveler's website, the connections are actually starting with our own computer, and then they're hopping through France, Italy, and then the UK as well, before finally making it to the main Traveler's website. That's done so that we actually can't see where the connections are originating from, keeping the browsing completely anonymous. Some of the other forms of data that can be found on the dark web include tax information, medical records, anything that can really be used to commit fraud against the person or to generate some sort of revenue. There are also sites dedicated on the dark web where individual vendors sell stolen eBay credentials, PayPal credentials, and even credit card numbers in bulk. More often than not, you'll find a lot of stolen W-2 information or social security numbers around tax season, but anything really that can be stolen from companies, including names, usernames, passwords, email addresses, addresses, dates of birth, and anything along those lines, it's all readily available. A fair amount of information that ends up on the dark web does so from various data breaches, which you often hear about in the news or you read about in the newspaper. More often than not, there are vulnerabilities within websites that allow them to be compromised, and those vulnerabilities are often as simple as just being a click away. A lot of vendors on the dark web actually sell malware and exploit kits, which you can then package and then redistribute to companies, and unsuspecting users will just open an email, for example, and infect the company, and from there the data is just exfiltrated out. There are literally thousands of guides and tutorials available on the web for either hacking or committing some sort of tax or identity fraud. Combine that with any type of stolen W-2 information, and it's literally a one-stop shop for cybercriminals. Spear phishing attacks are fairly simple to conduct. The knowledge gap required to actually conduct these attacks is getting smaller and smaller as the tools become more readily available. An example of spear phishing would be sending out a malicious Microsoft Office document, such as a Word or Excel document, that's been infected with some sort of malware or virus. The user or the victim will open the email attachment, and by doing so, the hacker will actually gain access to their system. So they've been hacked just as easily as opening that document. Even if criminals don't want to conduct the attacks themselves or learn how to do the attacks themselves, they can just as easily go on the dark web and hire someone to set it all up for them and conduct the attack for them. I think one of the most important things to get across is that I would say 99% of all hacks come from either reused passwords. I mean, so many people just use the same password on LinkedIn and MySpace and Facebook and so on. So once one site is compromised, then they have your login information to go to another site and another and another. So I'd say, don't reuse your passwords. The other thing is security awareness training for employees is probably, the next biggest thing, making sure your employees are aware of, what spear phishing attacks look like, how to stay away from them, what emails not to open, when to not open attachments and things like that. I mean, those are probably the two most important things at this point. All businesses right now are under the line of fire. It's absolutely important that businesses protect themselves, and some of these tips can be used to help reduce some of the damage caused by cyber criminals and help reduce the risk of any of these cyber activities.
Cybersecurity and risk control will be covered more fully in future presentations of the Travelers Cyber Academy. As you will see, there are many steps that a business can take to protect itself, including educating your employees. Employees who know how to recognize cyber threats, how to avoid them, and how to report them for investigation are a critical line of defense, particularly against the type of social engineering attack demonstrated earlier. Know what data you are collecting, where it is being stored, and how it is being used on your network. Knowing what data you have and how you are using it will go a long way toward enabling you to implement appropriate security controls. Every business has different needs, and it is important to implement security controls that will protect your business, taking into account both the resources that you have available and the threat environment that you face. Even a business with good cybersecurity can be compromised, however, so an incident response plan should be prepared and tested regularly. The plan should identify people both inside and outside the business who will be responsible for responding to an incident, and it should provide guidance and procedures so that important decisions don't have to be made on the spur of the moment. Finally, there will always be an element of risk that cannot be avoided, so no risk management plan would be complete without some consideration of insurance. A cyber liability policy can help ensure that your business is prepared even when it comes to threats from the dark side of the internet. Thank you very much for your time today. We hope you enjoyed this session of the Travelers Cyber Academy on exploring the dark side of the internet and now realize how important it is for businesses to be prepared. If you have any further questions, please contact us at trvcyber@ems.travelers.com. For a replay of this session, or to share with your colleagues and find additional resources on this topic, please visit travelers.com/cyberadvantage.